All right, everybody. So
Gonna close
welcome,
the door.
welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us for our virtual open house today. You will have the opportunity to hear from and ask questions of members of our faculty and school leadership who are eager to share our very special school with you. So thank you for being here. A little bit about where we've come from. So Gesher Jewish Day School was founded 38 years ago in Alexandria, Virginia. After outgrowing our spaces in both Agudas Hachim and the Pozos JCC of Northern Virginia, we moved to our beautiful and permanent home where we are currently located on 28 acres in Fairfax, Virginia in 2007. Currently, we are 141 students strong in grades junior kindergarten through 8th grade, and we have a student to faculty ratio of just under 6:1. We are proud to be a community day school, meaning that Gesher does not align with a particular movement of Judaism. Rather, our diversity reflects that of the Northern Virginia Jewish community. So our families range from interfaith to secular to observant, and each family has a unique and beautiful story about how and why they came to Gesher. So it's my pleasure to hand the program over to Aviva Walls, our head of school, to share our vision for why Gesher.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I am entering my 4th month, I believe, as head of school of Gesher. And while it's been perhaps the most exciting 4 months of any brand new head of school, what I am incredibly impressed with is how we've lived our vision and how we live our values every day. And the why Gesher is really about the way that we instill joy and curiosity in our students, the way that we create an environment where every child has a sense of belonging and is very well known. Within probably 2 or 3 weeks, I could greet 90% of the students by name at drop off and pickup. And that is something that I have learned from my colleagues, and it's something that we really value. We recently had parent-teacher conferences, and while we have a number of new families this year, the new families reached out to us and said, you know, our child was really, the teachers said such amazing things. They really have gotten to know the essence of our children. And that is what makes Gesher so incredible. It is also our beautiful campus. It is also the way that we think about kindness and respect, and the way that we that we play out what our values are in addition to really individualized and rigorous academic program. We have a mission and vision that we show in our hallways. So in our elementary school hallways, we have the beautiful B, which is be respectful, be safe, be responsible. And in our middle school hallway, we have the team approach, which is treat others with respect, engage in productive discourse, assume best intentions, and make the classroom a safe learning environment. Our kids really understand that kindness to each other and having the best intentions of each other is something that they live every day. That doesn't mean that they're perfect angels. In fact, there are still playground skirmishes. However, I really see the way that they look out for each other, the way that they'll stop to tie each other's shoes or wait for their classmate to walk in the morning, that they're looking out not just for themselves, but for each other. And that is the essence of what our community is. Yeah. I'm going to introduce Jody Hirschreen, who is going to talk about our academic program next.
Thank you, Viva. You couldn't have summed it up better, actually, the warm and the welcoming community that we have. And that sort of ties into the way I think about our classrooms. But when kids walk into their classrooms, they are known by their classmates, they're known by their teachers, and there's truly a classroom community in each of the classrooms. In all of our classrooms, in the elementary school, we have a Judaic studies and a general studies teacher, and then in the middle school, we have subject-based teachers, and Maddie's going to talk a little bit more about the middle school. But those teachers work together. You'll hear from Cheryl and Sarit both quite intricately. And so, well, I would say that we have a very strong general studies curriculum, math, science, English, and social studies, and then a Hebrew and Judaic studies curriculum. what we're really about is teaching the whole child. It's really important for us to teach the skills in an integrated way, teach the social skills in an integrated way, teach the motor skills in an integrated way, and all of that sort of loops into the way we think about teaching all of our subject areas. We also, especially this year, actually have used our outdoor campus in ways we've never used it before, and I think that'll trickle its way back into the way we continue to think about our outdoor campus and use it. But we've always had we sit on 28 acres, and we've always had a very strong integration with our outdoor campus. And even as we think about it this year, I'll just sort of describe, but I love to see that, you know, language arts could be, the kids will take a beach chair outside. They all have beach chairs on their supply list. It's a great year, and they'll take their beach chair outside and their book outside, and they'll go sit and they'll read, or they'll do a language arts lesson, or they'll do their writing. It got a little chilly today, but many days you'll often see not only kids learning outside, but kids playing outside, and everything in between. I'll just talk a little bit about the campus really quickly, because on our campus we also have a garden and a wetlands, and some really nice areas and we have tents out there right now, specifically for COVID, but we own them, so they'll get to stay, and we have a really nice way for kids to both learn and use our outside and our inside. And I'm going to let Cheryl talk a little bit more about general studies specifically.
Sorry. As Jody said, we teach the, basics of language arts, math, social studies, and science, but certainly try to integrate those whenever we can. So we might do a writing assignment that's based on a subject matter that we're learning in science, and do a persuasive essay, and then do reading, we'll be reading articles like that. So, I do try to integrate the different subject areas. And in 5th grade, certainly it's kind of a bridge year into middle school. And so really looking at making sure that the kids have those foundational skills, and trying to teach them in ways that are, exciting and interesting. For instance, we do a unit on westward expansion, and they do a pioneer simulation where they break up into wagon train groups, and they plan and purchase their supplies, and then they go through a simulation of all the things that happened to the pioneers on, the trip to Oregon. So, and in math, certainly they have to use their math skills in that simulation. So again, we try to integrate all those different areas. And there's a lot of differentiation as well. So for children who need more challenge and more enrichment in any of the subject areas, those are built into the programming. And then for those who need more review, that's also available, while still kind of sticking, looking at what foundationally do they need.
Great, thank you, Ms. Cheryl. And Mor Sarit is going to talk a little bit about the Hebrew and Judaics curriculum.
Sarit, you're muted.
Shalom לכולם. ברוכים הבאים. Welcome aboard. Okay, so a couple words about myself. I am a native speaker of Hebrew, and I've been around the DMV for about 10, 11 years. And the importance of that introduction is that I, in my classroom and as a whole in the school, we are trying to have as much as possible in the proficiency approach, which is better known as Ivrit be'Ivrit. We are trying to teach as much as we can the children the Hebrew language, as its culture, its love of Israel, as using authentic materials. Our curriculum was written in Israel and was shipped here earlier this year, a brand new curriculum, both for Gan and the rest, and the other grades, which is Chalav Udvash for Gan and Nitzanim, grade 1st and up, and later on Chaverim Be'Ivrit for the middle school. Our approach is that the state of Israel is a live and breathing place with its culture, its fun, its stories, and we love to introduce that in our classes, as well as teaching Judaic studies. I try to incorporate as much as I can in Hebrew, the Judaic studies component. And I know that later on, and we are talking in the lower grades also about the stories of the week, Parsha of the week. But later on in the classes, we are also teaching the first and second book of the Chumash. And we have wonderful team here, Gili and Mora Gili and Mora Rose, who are just incredible, and they accompany classes up to 5th grade. And recently we have also joined by Mora Dana, who's teaching in the middle school. And all of us are native Israelis, all of us speak Hebrew and try to incorporate as much as we can in the classroom. So pretty much that's for now. I'll be happy to share more when I see you.
Thank you so much, Mora Sari. Mrs. Rosenwald, I know that everybody who is here today has younger children, but it's never too early to start thinking about those middle school years. So Mrs. Rosenwald, Maddie Rosenwald is going to give us a little bit of an overview about middle school.
So middle school is a little far off for many of you, but like Amy said, it's never too early to get a little bit of a taste. I absolutely love middle school at Gesher. It truly is the safest place for our students to go through this trying time of adolescence, to kind of figure out who they are in the world, where they fit, you know, build the confidence that they need in order to kind of go out there and land safely on their 2 feet. And the team approach that our middle school staff takes to teaching and learning is really something special. We meet routinely to discuss students. We work together with the students to problem solve. We build relationships with the students as their advisors, which is something that meets 1 period a week from the beginning of the year until the end of the year, where the students take the time to, you know, work on some of those just kind of human skill sets like organization and problem solving and self-advocacy lessons. And it's really an opportunity for us as their teachers to kind of build that relationship with them outside of the classroom and kind of help strengthen, you know, who they are as individuals and as human beings. Middle school at Gesher has all of your general studies subjects, humanities, which is a combination of English, language arts, and social studies, as well as science, math, foreign language. We offer Spanish and Hebrew in middle school at Gesher. And we have a fabulous Judaics team between Hebrew and rabbinics and Jewish history throughout the different grade levels. Our students also have the opportunity in middle school to participate in non-academic adventures in their learning, which take the form of electives. So every trimester, the students have some options. There's usually a fine or performing arts elective, some type of physical elective, as you can see in the slide. Right now during COVID, we thought that Frisbee golf would be a great socially distanced physical, you know, elective activity for our kids to do. And then also there's usually some type of critical thinking elective. Right now, our students are involved in like virtual game theory. And in the past, there's been geographic information systems where the students analyze maps and mapping technology to kind of chart the course of different historical events and discoveries. The academic rigor in middle school is definitely very present. Our students have an opportunity upon graduating 8th grade to leave with high school course credit offerings in mathematics as well as in foreign language, depending on the trajectory of their learning and their knowledge base. So if you have any questions about middle school coming up in the next couple of years, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer them. On to you, Jody, for Brick to Click.
Thanks, Maddie. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on right now in terms of learning. I am pleased to say that we have made it through with very few. We've had a couple kids that have had to quarantine at home, but ultimately we've actually had to send very few classes home, and only for very short periods of time, precautionary. But should we need to send anyone home, and as we're watching sort of what's going to happen for next year's school year, we are we're very aware and very ready to go building to home at any time, so brick to click. Our students are third grade and up all own their own Chromebooks. Below third grade, we have enough school devices that everyone can have a school device, so that everybody can have a Chromebook should we need to go home. And our teachers are being very thoughtful about how Sarit knows directly, because she's had to send her kindergartners and her first graders home, but how we can sort of make school most effective while we're at home, and then bring it right back when we're at school. So we've got our students and our parents sort of in a way that we can have everybody trained. And we've been using a lot of small group work, both in school and at home, to make it all work. Cheryl also in 5th grade has a concurrent student, a student who dials in every day on the Chromebook. So I think we've done everything here. We've got students that are quarantined at home that dial into their classrooms, and we've got students that are at school, and hopefully we are going to make it through this year, open for the whole year. That is my hope. But should we have to quarantine a family or a student or a child, we are doing that. And we're also, you can sort of see from the pictures, but we've got everyone spread out while they're working in the classrooms, especially with that inside air. All the students are very good at wearing masks. The social distancing, we do a lot of reminders, but the students are actually really good at it, especially as the kids get older. The older they are, the better they are about the social distancing. And when they go outside and play, I'm often asked, oh, they get to take their masks off. They actually don't. They go out and play, and they run around, and we play on the playground, and we play sports, and everyone's got a ball bag for their pods. Everyone's in a classroom pod to make sure that we try to contain how we're moving around the school. But when they go outside to play, they keep their masks on. And the only time we really take them off is snack and mask break. So they spread out and deliberately take them off while they're sort of sitting and not moving, to try to keep us as safe and healthy as possible. And Amy, I'm going to keep talking a little bit about the traditions at Gesher, but I also want to share, these are not just traditions of today, but traditions for many, many years. But at Gesher, we have a lot of different things that make us unique as a Jewish school. We really value the idea of community and Jewish community in all different ways. And we really work hard to include all of our families in different traditions and different things that we do. So on Fridays, for instance, we have a really fun sort of school spirit day, but the kids like to wear their Gesher shirts, and purple's our colors. So they often wear their Gesher shirts and wear purple, or sometimes some of the students choose to wear white for Shabbat. But as they come into school, every student puts tzedakah in the tzedakah box. So instead of it indoors, we've moved it outdoors for COVID, and we didn't get rid of the tradition. We just altered it, but it's become a hallmark of our Fridays at Gesher. In the same way that we have tried to take our traditions and make them COVID friendly, we still are doing Israeli dance and Rikud. They just spread out, and we do it often outside. Our kindergartners have a Shechianu ceremony every single year, and we used to throw all the kids under a tallis, and the parents would all hold it up together and we'd bless them. So this year we did it by family, and we had the parents hold up the tallis and bless their child as they entered kindergarten. And in the same way that we bless them coming in, we bless them going out. We did our graduation this year outdoors. And because we really value building community, and we are struggling sometimes to connect on Zoom, we've had a couple parent noshes in the parking lot. Our PTO continues to be really strong. The classes are all meeting. The class parents are meeting on Zoom, so they can still get to know each other and connect with each other. And in order to give out food for the holidays, we're doing things for Hanukkah and for Rosh Hashanah, where we, instead of having it unwrapped and we eat it together in school, we are handing it out wrapped, and the students are taking it home. So sufganiyot will be prepackaged and ready to go and wrapped for Hanukkah, in the same way that we were able to do apples and honey for Rosh Hashanah and for the new year. And then our Kabbalat Shabbat, we used to do it as a whole school. And we still are doing it as a whole school. Same with our middle school tefillah on Thursday mornings, our Torah service. We are live streaming our services out to the whole school. So everyone's zooming in from their classrooms, and we can still do some of our school ceremonies online. It's a really big deal at Gesher to be able to bring the whole school together on Fridays and or for holidays. And so we're just finding creative alternative ways to still bring the school together. My favorite part of Kabbalat Shabbat is actually at the very, very, very end. Everybody gets to unmute and say Shabbat Shalom. So that's this huge cacophony of Shabbat Shalom, and it feels like we didn't totally lose some of the tradition. So I really appreciate our creativity and sort of thinking about how we can keep school traditions, and then, you know, as hopefully we get a vaccine soon and we can start returning life to normal, we can keep our traditions, and our students will still see them and remember them. Even our youngest students, they will get to experience those whole school assemblies together, you know, as we can bring those back. And I'm going to turn it over now to Amy to
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing momentarily before we sort of get into the logistical portion of the program. I just wanted to see if anybody has any questions for our teachers or administrators about the program, about the grade that you're interested in, about how our program is different than maybe a school that you are already familiar with.
This is Dina Kessler. For starters, I was hoping to find out how big your kindergarten class generally is. And also someone had mentioned that, I guess sometime within the past year, you all had to send kindergarten and first grade home for some period of time. The Brick to Click, what did that look like? How do you do like virtual kindergarten or first grade for that matter?
Absolutely. So to answer your question about class size, the class size varies, and I will say that it is our sincere hope and intention this year in the 2021-2022 school year to possibly be able to open a second section of GUN, probably a smaller section, as well as potentially a smaller section of first grade. If we do that, the class size will be determined primarily based on where in the school it is going. So as of right now, they are slated, the available spaces are smaller classrooms, so it may end up being a smaller section. So currently we have 17 students in our kindergarten, our GON classroom. Our second section could be closer to 8 or 9 students. But it's really going to be based on demand, based on how many students are coming up from our pre-kindergarten, and how many new families that we have as well. As for what everything looked like during during our Brick to Click, Morris Sarit, would you like to share a little bit about how things operated during that period of time?
Yes, absolutely. I was here also last year when we all went down Brick to Click in March, and this year we had a week of Brick to Click, both in kindergarten and first grade. So yes, we are posting assignments for the classes via Google Classroom. The assignments are broken down, and we are aware that they are dependent on parents' collaboration and providing those assignments to the children. However, there are no expectations specifically in the Hebrew and Judaic studies for the parents to be the children. In any case, the parents shouldn't be the children's teachers, but I'm trying to say that there's no expectation of previous knowledge of Hebrew and Judaic studies. So it's all on me to provide you the materials and the videos to explain everything that needs to be done for those assignments, as well as small groups. Your children will not sit in front of the computer for 8 hours at a time. This is not realistic and not age appropriate. But we're definitely breaking them down to groups and making sure that we see each one of the students each and every day during small group sessions. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks, Dina. Any other questions for our esteemed
I have a
panel?
question.
Yes.
Is there transportation options available?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. So this year we partnered with a new transportation vendor, which is Virginia Rides, and they have vastly improved and enhanced our transportation offerings. We do provide, currently we have 3 different bus routes going to different parts of Northern Virginia. I know where you live because we're in the same neighborhood. As of right now, we do not necessarily have a route that serves South Riding. Our westernmost route, the closest stop is actually in Sterling. But actually right now, that is a direct route Sterling to Gesher. So it's possible that we may, especially if there is, more than one student who is interested in transportation, we may be able to swing that down towards South Riding or Chantilly on its way back into Gesher.
Amy, in past years we've had it, but because of COVID this year, the families didn't need it. And so we didn't swing through Reston, Herndon, Chantilly, but should the need arise, we take our bus stops according to where there are pockets of families.
Yeah. Is there one in Reston?
There has been one at Beth Emath.
Okay.
And
what,
yeah,
I guess what is the start time for school? And what times, what is the day?
Yeah, absolutely. So our start time is 8:30 in the morning. We allow students to enter the building starting at 8:10 for our Kiss and Ride lines and unload the buses starting at 8:10. The bell rings at 8:30. Students are considered tardy after that time. And dismissal Monday through Thursday year round is at 3:30. During daylight savings time, so for instance, right now, Fridays we dismiss at 2:45 to accommodate families who are Shomer Shabbos and need to get to where they need to be before sundown. And when we're outside of daylight savings time, then it is a normal 3:30 dismissal on Fridays as well. And just to close the loop on transportation, our other 2 bus routes currently go to Vienna, Fairfax Falls Church, and then we have one that goes to Arlington and Alexandria for the other families that are on the call. And then in terms of what the day is like, typically the day, at least in elementary school, the day is broken up into a chunk that is Hebrew and Judaics and a chunk that is general studies. And they switch throughout the week, which block happens in the morning and which block happens in the afternoon. There's also specialty classes and mask breaks and recess built in as well. So the specialty classes that our students participate in, PE twice a week, art once a week, library once a week, music once a week, and Israeli dance is not a weekly occurrence, but I want to say it's between every other week and once a month, depending on the schedule and the grade level. So those are incorporated as well. But we try to have stretches of time, flexibility so that the teachers can build in longer lessons and activities, and then also incorporating a lot of movement and breaks as well.
Amy, I'm going to add to that also. There's typically a morning meeting or a community time in all of our classes, all the way from Gan Katan through middle school. In middle school, we call it advisory, and it's, I would say, a little more age appropriate to middle school. And then in middle school, our schedule is currently in a block schedule model. It helped the transitions with COVID, and we are loving what it looks like for the students in general. So I intend with Maddie Rosenwald probably that it's likely we would keep more of a block schedule model. So they have 4 main academics a day in middle school, and then 3, a tefillah, an elective, and a lunch break. So 3 very, half an hour breaks between those larger academics to break them up. And so it's a very smooth, organic kind of schedule in the middle school also, and that flows between general and Judaic studies as well.
Thank you so much, Jody. What other questions do you all have for us? Okay, I will go ahead and begin sharing again.
Wait, Amy, I think Tara had a question.
Oh, sorry, Tara. I'm not monitoring the chat, so thank you.
Oh, no. I just unmuted. That's all.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
So I don't know. There's so many questions, but I guess one question I had in terms of, the bus, I was just wondering, like, do you have any idea what the ratio is of kids that are bused versus kids that are dropped off by parents?
So out of the 141 students, I want to say we have approximately 30 students that take the bus. So it is, and let me say that some of those students are one-way transportation. So we have some students that are only afternoon. You know, we have some students that actually get dropped off at one stop and picked up at another stop. So it is very flexible, and we have you know, pricing structures for round trip versus one way.
In non-COVID years, it's been a little bit higher. I'll just say that we have a couple families that, especially if they live a little closer, have chosen to drive their children, which actually opens spots for families that live a little bit farther on our buses. So our buses are more or less COVID full this year, but I anticipate that as we can not have kids staggered in every other row, but actually have more kids on the bus, there may be more bus riders after this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so right now we actually have full-size buses, but we are very limited on our capacity because of the factors relating to COVID. So the fact that we have assigned seats, the fact that the students are staggered.
Yeah. So one of my main concerns would be like putting my kindergartner on the bus for like a large period of time without really any supervision, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone can speak to that, like what yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that Jody can speak to it as a parent. I also just want to say that I actually spoke with another parent yesterday. Same thing, rising kindergartner, coming from Alexandria, who was very concerned about bus transportation and the length of time that their child would be on the bus. And I was able to connect her with one of our current kindergarten parents who had the same concern. And she was so excited that I reached out to her. She's like, I was so concerned about it, but it has been such a blessing. The bus kids become their own sort of little sub-community within Gesher. We have middle school students riding the bus all the way down to pre-kindergartners or junior kindergartners. And they do sort of look after and take care of each other. And, you know, I have to remind parents that there is a very different dynamic when you're riding on a bus with peers than there is just riding in the car with maybe just mom or dad. So even kids that may have a hard time on longer trips with parents, when you introduce the friend factor, then it becomes a little bit less difficult. Jody, do you have any contribution? Or Sarit, sorry, you.
Yeah, can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Also, yeah, so we do have several students at the GAN, at the kindergarten, who are spending a good chunk of time in the morning, and they're having breakfast at home at 6 or 6:30 a.m. And therefore, they are more than welcome when they arrive to school, since they are socially distant and they are sitting in their desks. But I think they even have a different space in the school if they should want to. And they're welcome to bring another extra snack, because our morning snack is around 10 a.m., give or take, 10 to 10:30, it depends on the day. And so they're more than welcome to bring their extra morning snacks in the morning with them. And that changes a lot for, we have students that just, you can tell the difference between not eating for 4 or 5 hours and having this mid-morning snack. And that is not a problem at all, because if they're arriving in the bus, they're arriving pretty much the first ones in the classroom, and therefore they have plenty of time to just have this mid-morning snack before starting the day.
So that was a great addition. I would say that that's sort of an accommodation we made for bus riders. And then, I mean, they are on the bus for a while. Admittedly, I live in Alexandria, and my kids sometimes have to take the bus. And there was a protest for a period of time of both of my children that they didn't want to go with me. The bus was way more fun. So I want to throw that into the mix. I think that it is a large fear. I'm going to be honest. I was like, I don't know if I'd put my kindergartner on the bus. My view changed significantly once I did it. There are a bunch of kindergarten parents that you could speak to, or first grade parents. But the other thing is, when they get off the bus, we actually like didn't have to remind them so much this year, but in prior years, the middle schoolers used to walk them to class, and now we've separated the cohorts, and so the teachers greet them, and it's a little bit different. But our middle schoolers love them. one of my children would come home and I'd say, let's go read your library book. Oh, we don't need to do that. So-and-so read it to me on the bus already. And so like, that's the kind of thing that happens within a small community. All the kids know each other, and the older kids are like mommies and daddies to the little kids. I think there's a leadership piece. Maddie can speak to that a little more, but the middle schoolers really take pride in leadership here, and even some of our 4th and 5th graders, and they really do take care of those little kids. So I don't actually see it as an issue. I think in a big school and a big school bus, you've got a lot more social dynamics, and in a small community, the kids really truly just want to take care of each other.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Checking the chat real quick. No. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen and just talk a little bit. Share. All right. Can someone just give me a thumbs up if they can see the slide again? Great. Thank you. So the admissions process, sort of the logistical portion. So as you can see, we've got a nice little simple checklist here. Pat yourself on the back, and you can already say that you've checked off number 1. You have attended our open house to learn more about our school. The next step is to submit your application online, and that application for the 2021-2022 school year is live on our website, and I will be reaching out later today with the link so that you can navigate straight to it and start working on it. We are introducing a sibling priority deadline this year, and our sibling priority deadline is December 18th. And then we have a best consideration deadline for new families. So new families who want their applications to receive best consideration and earlier communication of admissions decision should plan to get their applications in by December 31st. Step 3, you can see there is virtual visits with Gesher faculty and leadership. So we generally schedule 2 separate meetings. One is a family meeting with Jody Hirsch-Reen. She likes to have a time to get to know every single family, every single child, and she is a really excellent resource for any sort of programmatic or larger questions. And then we also schedule a virtual visit with the classroom teaching team of the grade that the child will be entering. We are looking at possibly doing small group visits this year so that there might be an opportunity for the student to meet another friend who potentially would be joining the class as well. So stay tuned for that, but those will be taking place during the months of January and February. And then admissions decisions and enrollment contracts will be sent no later than March 1st for applications received by the best consideration deadline, and by February 15th for the siblings of Gesher students. So then it is up to you to go ahead and submit the enrollment contract and your deposit. Once the enrollment contract and deposit is received, then your space is secured and you're in. Again, assuming that things do not change dramatically, we will have a capacity. We will be COVID full. Once again, this year we have had to stop accepting applications for mid-year enrollments because we are full in all of our classrooms. So we are encouraging families to apply early to have the best shot at getting a space for their child. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is obviously affordability. So what you see on the screen in front of you is our 2020-2021 tuition and fees. So that is for this current school year. Just as a note, we are in the final stages of preparing the 2021-2022 rates, and those will be published on our website probably in the next couple weeks is our hope, but I will be sending out a communication about that when they are available. For your planning purposes, just know that tuition generally increases between 5 to 7% each year. So you can sort of guesstimate based on that what it might be for next year. Also wanted to point out that we do provide need-based tuition assistance to families based on their documented and demonstrated need. So we use a third-party program called FACTS Grant and Aid that will collect information from the families about assets, liabilities, expenses. It looks at tax returns, W-2s, And it basically will run it through an algorithm and calculate what a family's demonstrated documented need is. And then our financial aid or our tuition assistance is designed to bridge the gap between what a family is able to pay and the cost of tuition. The goal is always to make a Gesher education accessible to any family that wants it. And that is it. So now that I've covered that, are there any additional questions about the admissions process?
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you have an age cutoff like for kindergarten that just because like my son's birthday is the end of October, so he'll be 5 at the end of October. What is your cutoff for kindergarten?
So we do follow the same September 30th cutoff as the public schools, but we do have a junior kindergarten program that was established exactly for that reason, that there are students who are out there, or students out there who need more challenge and more engagement than what a typical preschool program would provide, but either don't make the birthday cutoff or socially, emotionally, or developmentally may just need a little bit of extra time to sort of get ready to launch into kindergarten. So our Gankatan, I would encourage you to look at our Gankatan program. I would be happy to put you in touch with families whose children are, we're in a similar position with early birthdays in the year, and sort of how that program worked out for them, and then how they made the transition successfully to kindergarten. So that's sort of how we approach it. Jody, do you have any other
I'll
thoughts?
just add, my Cheryl knows really well. My eldest is in Cheryl's class. He's a 5th grader, is an October 8th birthday. So we missed that cutoff. We actually moved from a state where the cutoff was October 30th. And so he had already done a forest program, and then we moved to Virginia. He would have greatly benefited from having the Gankatan. So I'm going to be honest and transparent and say part of my motivation in leadership in creating a program, a more robust Gankatan program, a junior kindergarten program, was truly that there wasn't, when I moved here, a program in the area that really fit my kids' needs, and I wanted him in a Jewish preschool. So we ended up putting him in a half-day preschool, and it was a revert backwards because he had been in a full-day forest program up in New Jersey. And so that's the brainchild behind the creation of this program, is to really give that bridge year for the students that are truly ready for a full day program and kindergarten ready, but miss that cutoff and miss that gap. And it really is it's just like any other class in the school. It's a bell curve of the way we look at skills and students so that we can meet all the students' needs. But the brainchild and the specific motivation behind creating a full day Gankatan program was because there are many children in the area that are ready for kindergarten and sort of either miss the cutoff, or their parents want them to have that extra year of growth before they enter kindergarten. So that's my story of why I really, really am excited that we have a program like that here.
This is Dina Kessler. Can I ask another admissions question?
Yes, please.
I know you said your best consideration deadline is December 31st. Do you do like rolling admissions, or it's like on December 31st, you gather up all the applications and then you start reviewing applications at that point? Like basically, is it better or is there a reason to submit an application, tomorrow versus December 31st?
So it is on a rolling basis. Basically, what we're committing to is that we will process the applications received by December 31st before we process any applications that are received after December 31st, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
we will process them in the order that they're received. So I would say yes. It is absolutely 100% possible that we will receive more applications before December 31st than we will have available space for, in which case we will give priority to the families that applied earlier. But we wanted to try to sort of pick what we thought would be a reasonable expectation, and we think that December 31st is probably a good indication of families who are confident in their intent to enroll in Gesher, and so we are going to do everything within our power to make sure that we can offer that to them.
Okay. Great, thank you. I appreciate it. And also too, when you said that the March 1st is the last date that you'd be sending out enrollment contracts, is that, so again, if we like apply tomorrow and, you know, get accepted, there's still, you know, you can wait until March 1st-ish or so to make a decision. And I don't mean to sound like a jerk. I'm just trying to understand the process, and, you know, things are up in the air and trying to figure out my life and all that.
Of course, of course. Typically what we say is you have 2 weeks from the time that the enrollment contract is offered to accept the position before, like, we'll hold it for a 2-week period. And then after that 2-week period is done, then we'll consider the space available for somebody else if there's another family in the queue. But you would have 2 weeks after the offer has been made to sort of finalize your decision before that space is then vulnerable to be lost to someone else.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? These have been great questions. Thank you so much for bringing them to us. All right. Oh, yes. Yes, Tara.
Is this the last open house or of the year, or are there going to be any more?
We are going to be doing some more. I haven't set dates or times for those yet. We wanted to make sure that we got a certain number in before the best consideration deadline is over. We have some plans in the works for like a kindergarten readiness parent talk, which is less focused on admissions and more focused on sort of what you can do to get your child ready for Gesher's Gone, and sort of our expectations and our philosophy around the kindergarten experience. And then we're going to be having some like parlor conversations, virtual parlor conversations hosted by several Gesher families in different areas. So I'm happy to connect with you directly if you'd be interested in attending any of those, or if you know of anyone who'd be interested. And also I have done the recording of this. So if there is anyone who you think would benefit from seeing it, who wasn't able to make it today, spouse or a friend, please let me know and I'm happy to make that recording available. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. It is my plan and intention to reach out personally to each of you between now and the end of the week, just to check in, see if you have any personal questions, anything else I can be of assistance for or with as you sort of embark on this journey with us. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our faculty and administration who joined us today. And I will look forward to meeting you and your children in the coming weeks. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.